when you're up against a green screen and trying to straighten it all out, hope it looks good on camera. Hey everybody, welcome to another movie vlog, and today I'm going to review Spider-Man Homecoming. I did watch this last night and it took me a while to get around to reviewing it right now, mostly because work has been kind of hectic when I got back from my vacation. And quite honestly, I really do need those views and new subscribers if I'm going to get back on the fast track to stay above the 200 subs. So, with that said, Spider-Man Homecoming is of course the second reboot, this time under the Marvel Studios helm, with Sony on the side just doing their thing, but after a huge clusterfuck of pretty much multiple deals and arguments and pretty much haggling, they somewhat came to a bit of a conclusion to where they can work out a deal to include Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And for the most part, it's actually quite well, to be honest with you. Is it the best Spider-Man of the franchise? Is it the greatest superhero movie to come out this year, like Vox is saying? Yeah, right. Well, not really. But to be honest with you, it is a very, very, very great movie. For starters, you got the main actor, Tom Holland, who is absolutely exceptional, because the way I see it is that they casted very young, very wise. Mostly because the fact that he's actually 20 years old and he was actually filming this stuff when he was 18 and 19 makes it feel more genuine, that you actually believe for him to be a high school teenager rather than a 30-something-year-old. I enjoyed a lot of the special effects that went along in here, as well as some of the great characterizations and plots that went in here as well. It was also quite refreshing to see a brand new take when it comes to a very, very young Peter Parker going through the trials and tribulations when it comes to high school, friendship, trying to get dates, as well as fighting crime as well, all pretty much meshed in between, kind of like your average teenage superhero would. It works out pretty well, and I will have to say it's far better than what they did for Spider-Man 2. There was a lot of time for a lot of characters to be developed, both the main characters and also the supporting characters as well. Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau make their returns as Happy Hogan and Tony Stark, but for the most part they're mostly there for the sidelines, just mildly assisting Spider-Man for a few things, but they're not really involved for the most part, apart from the ferry scene that you probably saw from the trailer, but it's also in the movie as well. Michael Keaton as the Vulture is absolutely phenomenal, and I will have to say that he is quite menacing as well. I mean, the guy's like a light switch. He's happy-go-lucky and nice and fair at one point, then the next he's malicious, he's cynical, he's also very, very fucking evil when he needs to be. And of course, when he really needs to, he will kill somebody when the opportunity strikes. But for the most part, he's also pretty much your blue-collar supervillain who just so happens to come across some high-tech tech and use it to his advantage just to earn more money. And I actually do like that, because it's really, really refreshing, in my opinion, to see a Spider-Man villain who's pretty much motivated by money for a change, and his origin is mostly based around stealing stuff using high-tech machinery. Unlike all the other Spider-Man villains in the past, where you pretty much get to see freak lab accidents along with "I must rule the world" or "kill Spider-Man because of this." And I'm like, a bit of a cliche at this point with those Spider-Man movies, but this is a brand new take, if you ask me. And apart from him, a lot of the other side villains that are included in here have a very small part, but they're not wasted as well. You got one dude who's actually the Shocker, which is actually pretty awesome, who's like a bit of a grunt at times, but also a loyal lieutenant to the Vulture. And then they also brought in Phineas Mason as well, the Tinkerer. He's just tinkering away, no pun intended, when it comes to the workshops and everything else. And so actually the villains are actually quite great. And apart from the villains that were also great, the supporting characters as well were also not bad. You got Peter Parker's friend named Ned, who is actually a bit of a geek at heart, but he's also very interested in doing things. You got the love interests, you got the other supporting characters. I would have to say, most people usually complain about how diverse the supporting cast is, but in my opinion, I think it pretty much works out well. Mostly because when I go see a superhero movie with high school kids, I expect to see some high school teenagers, and it actually pretty works with this group of kids. So what? I mean, in my opinion, so long as they work out well for the movie, I'm not really complaining. They actually do pretty well. I will have to say though, the dude who plays Flash Thompson in this, he's he's way less of. I find him. I disliked him the most out of the supporting cast group, mostly because I find him more of a. He's way less of a bully and more of a, an annoyance, pretty much. And he pretty much does way less bullying in this movie, and I was a little disappointed. I like my Flash Thompson to be, kind of intimidating, like from Amazing Spider-Man. I really didn't like the musical scores because, sure, you got your Spider-Man themes and everything else that is played at an orchestral, and with an orchestra and everything else, make it very thematic. But all of the other scores throughout this movie is just a little forgettable, if you ask me. The original scores. There's some copyrighted songs in here, mostly just to set the tone for the teen high school stuff and whatnot. That's okay for the playlist. Another thing I really didn't like about this movie was mostly the new suit that was provided by Tony Stark to give to Peter Parker, and his suit pretty much gives him a whole wide variety of gadgets and gears and everything else. And I know that kind of relates to the more modern Spider-Man of today, where he does use all of this better technology to his advantage when it comes to fighting crime, but in my opinion, this is more of a high school version. This is a high school Peter Parker, and when he learned all of his basic web tricks and everything else, he had to do a flick of his. He had to do special combinations with his fingers or his thumb. This one, it was all preset to where it pretty much showed everything. And I don't know, I just didn't like it that much. I mean, then there was also this little spider drone that pops out of his emblem and just spied around and assisted him with the AI talking in his mask. And I was just like, man, that's a little too much. It wasn't like a constant annoyance. It was just like a mild upsetting thing, if you ask me. But for the most part, it was actually still entertaining because you see this main character trying to go through his ups and downs and also getting really frustrated when it comes to handling this new equipment and everything else. Kind of like what a teenager would do, and it's actually pretty fun for the most part. Now, is it the very best Spider-Man film out there? I would have to say yes, mostly because they got a lot of the, as I said before, mostly because they got a lot of the characters down, and of course, a lot more of him interacting and flushing out more Spider-Man villains more organically, if you ask me. And I know there's going to be build-up for more bigger and greater things when more sequels come out for the Spider-Man franchise, because they threw out a crap ton of Easter eggs and Spider-Man Easter eggs and references here and there and whatnot. I don't want to explain too much because I don't want to go into spoiler territory, but if you saw the movie, you would understand. They did include some really well thought out little Easter eggs, and other ones that were just like, it felt like it was a little bit more crowbarred in. Kind of like just to introduce these characters at some point in Spider-Man 2 or 3 or whenever they come out, or maybe a spin-off movie of another Spider-Man movie. You'll get what I mean once you actually do the research. I'm not going to spoil anything right now because I'm going to start coming up with a new rule now when it comes to new movies that are still in theaters, that I will not spoil anything. Maybe at some point or another, but for now I'm just going to keep it very vague as possible, but at the same time, it's quite enjoyable. It's well worth your money if you have to go see it in theaters, and I highly recommend it. Maybe at a matinee price. And anywho, I would have to give this movie a solid 4 out of 5 stars if you ask me. And as it stands right now, I would have to rate this somewhere around a hair above Guardians of the Galaxy 2, mostly because of everything I said in here. But at the same time, I feel like this is the type of movie where I can actually come back to when it comes to a Spider-Man movie in general. Alright guys, thank you all for watching, and if you guys like what you see, and if you have any comments about Spider-Man Homecoming, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video, and all that other fun junk. And of course, I'll pop up some Patreon and some video requests, playlists right here, and everything else. And with that said, I will see you all next time.